We're live.
We're live.
All right, we are live, and we have two calls for roll call. We've got Ed and Kevin standing in for Alan. So our roll call is Aaliyah, Kevin, Mike, Jill, Lindsay the daughter, Ed, Mr. Ed, John, Rick, Sandy, Steve, and Michael West Bay snuck in there. And wait a minute, PDX Kurt is in here. But where did he go? I don't see him. He was there, right?
Yeah, he was.
He said he's here, but I don't see him in the sidebar.
He popped in and out, I guess.
Uh-oh, there he is. Yeah, he's in the sidebar now. Good. Kurt, I'm glad you saw the thing about Hush that we're gonna be talking about tonight, because yeah, that is your jam. You're gonna buy it in a heartbeat. So let's see my preview here. By the way, Mike, the grumpy version, I have tried to figure out what's wrong with the script, and I am baffled. I don't know. We might need a play date next time you have some time to spare. All right. Shall we start?
Yeah, I think we are ready.
All righty. Without any further ado. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 16th, 2023, and this is show number 936. Well, I'd asked you all last week what you think about having an intro at the beginning telling you what I'm going to tell you about. And I've gotten a bunch of votes from people. A lot of people on Slack have talked to me. Pat Dengler cornered me in real life to tell me your answer. And the vote is 100% split. Half the people say, no, I can't stand it when podcasts do that. I know what I'm going to hear. It's in the title. I don't need to know that. And the other half go, yeah, that'd be really great if you told us up front. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I may still do it from time to time, but I'll tell you one reason not for me to do it. A lot of times during the live show, I underestimate how long the show is going to be, and I look and it's going to be really long, and so I cut something from the show after I've already recorded the intro. So that's one of the reasons I actually never do it. So by the time you see the title of an episode, that's what's actually in it. But when I'm at the beginning of the show, you might never know. So I'm probably not going to make that change. There we go. Intros are great. Hate the intros. Okay, thanks, Mike. Righty. We have a fabulous Chit Chat Across the Pond light. The first one in forever. Do you know this is the first one in 2022?
Really?
I muted Steve. Yeah. I had Helma help me figure out how to get a listing of who everybody who's ever done a Chit Chat Across the Pond, the titles of all of them. And I said, oh, sorry, 2023. Yeah, oh, that might be why. Anyway, when we got done, I said, well, it's broken because it doesn't show any in 2023. And I looked and I haven't done one in 3.5 months. So made up for it. It's a great one.
They've all been heavy chit chats.
Yeah. So.
Because you've done a lot of those.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to read about Adam. After a completely unexplained and I don't even know why hiatus from doing Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, we have a Chit Chat Across the Pond Light. Adam Engst of Tidbits joins me on Chit Chat Across the Pond to talk about the changes Apple made recently to the file provider extension. Now, I'd actually never heard of that, but these changes had a fairly significant effect on how cloud storage providers like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and Box work with Mac OS. Whether you realize... Come on. Start that over. No, I can't do the whole thing over because that one part was too good. Let's see. Adam Engst. Adam Engst of Tidbits joins me this week to talk about the changes Apple made recently to the file provider extension. And I had actually never heard of the file provider extension until he came on the show to tell me about it. But these changes had a fairly significant effect on how cloud storage providers like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and Box work with Mac OS. Whether you realize it or not, you've very likely been upgraded and transitioned to new versions of these services. While the new file provider extension improves several things about our interface with these cloud storage providers, There are also some serious gotchas that may affect you. For example, before talking to Adam, I didn't realize that the change caused us to have local copies of our entire Google Drive, and anything added there isn't necessarily being synced to the cloud. Being Adam, he's written an extremely well-researched and well-explained article over on tidbits.com. And of course, there's a link in the show notes to that. So you can follow along with our conversation and learn all about this from the great Adam Engst. And I just noticed it says could instead of cloud in that one. Do you have that up right now, Steve?
I do.
Right before I say being Adam, the second to last sentence, the end of the sentence says sync to the could. And that's not correct.
I'm having a little trouble. Second to the last, there are bullets on the last one, right? But 3 bullets. What?
I just closed it. I don't know. Look for a sentence that ends with the word could instead of cloud. If you can.
I'm not sure I have the same version.
Right blog post up? No, that's not that. Wait, you put a link to the Tidbits article, not to.
Well, prior to that, I put the one on Chit Chat
Yeah.
with Adam. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that should be.
I don't see could. But...
Okay, I'll bring it up and fix it. Just a minute. Where did it go? It was 764. And
there it is.
There.
Okay, I thought you meant the end of. I can fix it. I thought you meant the end of a sentence.
It is the end of a
paragraph.
sentence. It's the last word in a sentence is could, and it should be cloud. No?
Yeah, I found it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. All righty. Google Drive implementation on the Mac is annoying. I think it's better if you know how to clean it up after the migration, because that migration messed us up. Steve's is a disaster right now. It is a combination of folders that are only local, folders that are in the right place, folders that are in the wrong place. It is a big mess. So we're going to have to go clean it up. Mine is inexplicably in 2 places that appear to both be the right place, which is impossible. So I don't understand that. But yeah, I think the new way is going to be better. Actually, yeah, okay, I do expect that. All right, here we go. Well, this week we actually have 2 Chit Chat Across the Ponds. We also have a security bits. Oh, not a security bits. Well, this week we actually have 2 Chit Chats Across the Pond because we have a Programming by Stealth by Bart Busschots. In this rather mind-bendy episode of Programming by Stealth, Bart takes us into the weird world of POSIX special variables and options. He refers to some of them as being like handling nuclear power. At one point, he suggests mind-altering drugs must have been involved in the design, and he even compares one of our newly learned tools to a chainsaw. He powered us through amidst my many interruptions with questions to where we can now write shell scripts that take flags and optional arguments using getOpts. The final form of the syntax is very readable, but knowing the reasons behind each bit is crucially important, and that's, of course, Bart's strength. You can find Bart's fabulous tutorial show notes to go along with this episode in the links, of course, in these show notes to pbs.bartificer.net. All right. That's interesting. His doesn't expand his link.
I've noticed that. Never has. Not sure why.
It's because it's a static site generator that he's using. It's not a content management system. Yeah. So he actually uses GitHub Pages to create it.
GitHub Pages. So that doesn't generate like a link. Well, I don't know what it is generating. I thought it was the app that you're running, like Discord in this case, that pulls the information. I didn't know the web service
but it has to have information to pull, and there is
I
nothing
thought it pulls
like
it
that
directly from the link, from the RSS link, or from the web page. It
pulls it from the web page, but if it's not there on the web page for it to pull, it can't pull it. So there's no excerpt, there's no featured image, none of that exists in a static site generator. Each page is just a page on the internet. It's not really, it's not really it's not a It's not a blog. Let me put it that way,
Okay.
if that makes any sense. It's
Yes.
really interesting how we do it. I've got a lot of time today to talk, so I can explain it, but it's very, very interesting how we do it. So he writes in Markdown, in Byword, he writes the show notes, and then we maintain that single document. So he's got a file called pbs149.md, and he pushes that up to GitHub as a single file. And then when I run Git and I pull his changes, and so I get that new page, and we edit that. I edit that one page while he's talking. I put in the recording for the show and things like that, and then I push it back up, and then that becomes that new page. But that page isn't actually connected to anything. It is a
Hmm.
text document sitting on the internet in GitHub. It's very interesting. He loves it because he's by not having any of the capability of a blog, of a content management system like WordPress, he has none of the work of a content management system. He
And
likes that he can't do any of these things.
he has complete control over the content and what's shared.
It's not that as much
There's
as
not
he
a third
doesn't have to
party.
control anything. There's no
Right.
work to be done. So
Right.
he doesn't have plugins. He doesn't have he created a theme, and that theme sits, and that's it. And he wrote it, or he wrote the very slight changes to make it look like it does, and that's it. There's nothing. He doesn't do any management. It's
Okay.
the oddest thing. There's no backups because it's a GitHub repo, so it's everywhere. It exists on my computer. It exists on his. Isn't that odd?
Very.
I should explain that sometime in the regular show. That would be kind of funny because I've learned a lot about using Git and GitHub because of the way he does the show notes. All right. We have something fun from Terry Austin that I'm going to play now. And then I'm going to read a bunch of stuff after he talks. So I have work to do here to pull him in. Okay. He sent me two files. I have to make sure I pull the right one in. Yeah, no, this is the first one. Okay. All right, I want you guys to hear this. It isn't very long. .net.
Hey there, I'm talking over here. Hush, just hush. Hi there, fellow castaways. This is Terry from Texas with another long overdue review. First, the problem to be solved. As an online professor, I record videos for my students. As previously mentioned, I live in Texas, where it gets hot. To solve the hot problem, we use an air conditioner. Air conditioners make noise. Noise ends up in my videos. I also live very near Fort Cavazos. You might know that better by the old name of Fort Hood. My house is right in the middle of the training flight path for both cargo and attack helicopters. They don't respect my recording sessions at all, so often helicopters fly right over in the middle of my recordings. Again, noise ends up in my videos. We all know what makes a good video is clean, well done audio. So noise in the audio? Yeah, that's a problem we need to solve, or at least a problem I need to solve. That brings me to the app of concern, Hush. Yes, just Hush. Hush uses state-of-the-art artificial intelligence, AI, to suppress background sounds and room reflections. Hush is available on the Mac App Store or from the developer Ian Sampson's website at hushaudioapp.com, where you can try it for free. As the website states, Hush will mute all the noise, make every room anechoic, debark, de-chirp, de-honk, automate your workflow, stay cool with Apple Silicon, and own it for life. The developer has Hush app priced for a one-time purchase of $49.99 rather than the subscription model. I actually prefer that type of purchase for this app. I'll use it all the time, and I don't mind paying for an app that will actually do its job. I listened to the sample that Ian has on his website and immediately bought the app. It's been less than a week, and I've already cleaned up all my new videos, and I've even started going back through my old library of videos that I've previously done for my students. The way this works is you make some audio, or you make a video and render out just the audio file. Open the Hush app, set some very basic parameters, pick a folder for the cleaned audio to end up, and then drag your raw audio onto the app's target window. Reach into the folder where you told Hush to sing your clean audio, and now you've got a clean audio file. If you're working on a video like I am, drag the clean audio track in to replace the original noisy track and then render your video. If you record audio or video, you just might want to check out Hush. Now that you've listened to me talk about Hush, you might want to hear how well it works for yourself. So I will ask Allison to play you a short audio clip. First, you'll hear a bit of audio I recorded with 2 fans and a TV running in the background. Then you'll hear a clap as an audible separator. Finally, you'll hear the exact same bit of audio after a quick trip through Hush. Allison, hit it.
All right. So we're going to play this next.
Allison, hit it. This is an attempt to check and see how well Hush does at silencing a very noisy background. Let's give it a shot. This is an attempt to check and see how well Hush does at silencing a very noisy background. Let's give it a shot.
That's impressive.
Could you hear the difference in that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut this a little bit. So that's the end of him talking, and I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to start recording here.
This is an attempt to check and see how well Hush does at silencing a very noisy background. Let's give it a shot.
Wow, that is incredible, isn't it? Well, I tell you, I often get teased by listeners that I cost them a lot of money with my reviews. I now know how you feel. When Terry sent me this review of Hush, before I read it and listened to it, he bet me that Steve and I would both want this app. Without even knowing the price, I was dubious that I needed it. I have a very controlled environment for my recordings with lots of sound absorption, a really good microphone, and a clean audio interface. But what I don't have control over is the recordings from listeners. Most of them are really good quality, but even the best ones often have room echo or fan noise or air conditioning. Heck, Terry himself sent in a recording once where the refrigerator was running in the background and it was highly distracting. After hearing Terry's review, I decided to download the free 21-day trial of Hush. 21 days is a very generous trial period for developer Ian Sampson to offer. Later in the show, you'll be hearing a quick review from the lovely Sandy Foster. She's worked really hard to create a good environment for recording, no more fan noise, and she's got a big girl microphone, so her recordings are very clean. When I listened to Sandy's recording for this week's show, my very picky ears heard a very slight room noise. It's kind of hard to describe. Room noise, it's not like a fan or anything like that. It's just kind of the room itself reverberating at a low frequency. Now, 98% of you would have never noticed the room noise on Sandy's recording, but I thought I'd just give Hush a try. I downloaded the free trial, like I said, from hushaudioapp.com. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what the configuration is. Terry referred to it a little bit, but I'm going to get into some more details. When it first opens, it tells you that the trial is 21 days. Yay again. As soon as you click the Start Trial button, you'll see the very simple configuration options for removing noise from your audio. In the upper left, there's a slider from 0 to 100% labeled Mix. Now, there's no explanation of what mix means, so I asked the developer, Ian Sampson. He explained that it simply blends the processed output with the original output. He said that if the AI inside Hush completely erased a dog bark and you set the slider to 50%, it'd be about half as loud in the original. The reason you might want to set the mix to anything other than 100% would be if the resulting clean recording sounded maybe artificially clean. For example, we've got another interview from the CSUN Assistive Tech Conference this week, and since I'm sure you've noticed in previous recordings, there's a fair amount of ambient noise in the exhibit hall while we're doing these recordings. I ran the latest recording through Hush 3 times. I did it once at 100%, then at 50%, and I finally settled on 75%, feeling pretty good. At 100%, it sounded like the interview was conducted in a super quiet but large room. At 50%, the noise level was still a little more than I wanted, but at 75%, it sounds natural. You can still tell I'm in an exhibit hall, but it's not distracting at all. Now, Steve and I were talking about how the CSUN environment wasn't super loud, but if we ever get to go back to CES, Hush will definitely be set to 100% for those interviews. Now, Hush has just a couple more settings to play with. It asks you to tell it where to put the resulting denoised file, like Terry mentioned, and it gives the option to add a prefix or suffix to the resultant file. I like that, so you keep your original and you can have a prefix or suffix to be able to tell which one's the clean one. Finally, you can set the sample rate and file format of the output to WAV, AIFF, or FLAC, which are all uncompressed formats. Or you can choose to, there's a toggle switch there you can set to the same as the original file, which is what I choose. After setting up Hush, you simply drag your audio file onto the main area on the right, and Hush immediately gets to work as soon as you let go. Now, speaking of drag and drop, I tested Hush for accessibility. The mix slider, file info fields, and formatting controls all worked really well. There's graphics next to each one of these settings, and they're not quite labeled as well as they could be, so I let Ian know that he might need to do some cleanup on them. A bigger issue, though, is that drag and drop is problematic for those who use VoiceOver. I thought that might be the case, but I wanted to be sure, so I sent out a toot on Mastodon, asking if maybe there was some trick they knew that I didn't know about, and it wasn't a problem. Kevin wrote back, "Most screen readers have a way to drag and drop, but they're often not as efficient. You can do it, but it's really annoying. Or sometimes you can select a file in something like LaunchBar or Alfred and then send it to the app that only has drag and drop. Most of the time, drag and drop with a screen reader is not enjoyable, as it seems to be for sighted people." Now, Alison Malloy wrote, "In my experience, this would make it functionally inaccessible. On the Mac, for example, drag and drop is possible with VoiceOver, but it rarely behaves the way I would expect it to." Well, armed with that feedback, I passed that along to Ian, and man, is this guy responsive. I had asked him, you remember, about what mix meant, and he got back to me in like 20 minutes. And on the accessibility question, I told him the things I thought needed to be improved, like these buttons being labeled weird, or these icons being labeled weird, I should say, and the drag and drop problem. He wrote back and he says, "I have a list of things I'm going to work on. I'm glad you gave me this list. And the top on my list already is to fix the drag and drop problem for VoiceOver users." And he does have some people who are helping him test. So that is fantastic. I love that. Now, one final point I wanted to make. Hush really does want an uncompressed file to work with. I tested running an MP3 file through it, and it took a really long time, and it actually spun up my fans, which I'm not sure I've ever heard before because I have an M1. And even though I told it to save it as my original format, it doesn't have a way to save as MP3, so it saved it as an AIFF. I also tried it with an AAC M4A file, which is a lossless format, but it is a compressed format. Hush did save it with the .m4a extension, but the file was triple the original size. So I think it was probably exported as an ALAC, that's Apple Lossless Audio Codec, which also has M4a at the end. So it wasn't an AAC, I think. Now I'm getting into the nitpicky details of audio codecs here, which is pretty much the road to madness, so I'm going to stop. On hushaudioapp.com, Ian says that when you buy Hush, you own it for life, and Terry mentioned that too. Ian says, neural networks with this much power usually require a server, along with a hefty usage or subscription fee. Instead, Hush runs entirely on your Mac. Your data stays private, and the app is yours forever. So while $50 is a lot for an app, Hush is in the Mac App Store, which means I can still share it with Steve for his videos, and that made it a little more palatable for me. I like owning software. The software does something really complex and specialized, so I think it's really great. The fact that on the first day I tested Hush, even though I had 21 days to play with it, I found 2 good uses for it tells me Hush will be a tool that will live in the top drawer of my toolbox for a long time. I'm very cross with Terry for costing me $50, but you'll all be the beneficiaries. You'll be able to hear it in the recordings, even in this episode. I bet a lot of you are grinning knowing how much I've cost you over the years, so you're happy with what Terry did to me.
Yeah, thank you, Terry.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Oh, but I mean, you're going to want to run this on everything you do, Steve. I mean, you can do this on your videos.
A lot of people in the chat room were commenting about asking if they could hush their cat or maybe their wife or husband.
Oh, good. Yes. I'm blown away by this app. It's just so simple and easy to use. You like set a couple things, drag it in, boom, done. I didn't mention it, but it definitely likes an M1 or an Apple Silicon. Probably should have said that. It works on the Intel, but it takes a long time.
So you placed a bet with Terry?
Yeah, he says he says note to self, next time I got to make sure that I get it in writing, the bet in writing, because we didn't actually, make it where he could call in that marker.
Yeah, he says, when I bet, here's the new problem to be solved. When I bet Ellison, I actually need to set the stakes for the bet. It must have been there were no stakes in the bet.
Yeah. That was his mistake. Ha ha. Oh, Steve, would you go get the Wonder Packs? Wait, where did I put them?
The small ones?
Yeah, do you know where they are?
Yeah, I think I know. Yeah.
Okay, it might be in that drawer where I put my spy belt right next to the fridge. Thank you, dear. Okay, so let's all right, let's jump into the next interview from the CSUN Assistive. All right, let's jump into the next interview from the CSUN Assistive Tech. Oh, so hard. Assistive Tech Conference. They changed the name of it on me. Oh, good. I'm going to demonstrate this while you hear this description. Actually, I probably won't play this whole interview now. I'll demonstrate this in a second once I get this started. All right, let's start up with, nope. All right, let's jump into another interview from the CSUN Assistive Tech Conference. And this is the interview that now has a 75% mix on top of it with the great app Hush, fixing the audio so you don't hear a lot of background noise. All right, I'm going to put this in. Okay. I'm just going to play a little bit of this. The great app Hush with the great app Hush, fixing the audio so you don't hear a lot of background noise. I'm not entirely sure what this has to do with accessibility, but I'm talking to Mark Wavius at Wonder Packs, and he handed me. I'm going to edit out that. I'm going to take out that big. I don't know why I have so much trouble when I first start talking to somebody. I'm like, I get into the groove, but. Wavius at Wonder Packs, and he handed me something delightful, which we are going to reproduce for the video audience. But he's handing me a small. Let's see, you describe it.
It's a reusable ISO heat pack.
So yeah, you can hear the sound in the background, right? You can hear little tiny mumblings. It sounds like an anechoic chamber with the other one. But so this is the thing. I know you can't see this, Aaliyah, so I'm going to be describing it, and it's in the podcast too. I'm holding in my hand a thing that's about, 3 inches by 2 inches. Maybe it's like a little gel pack. But inside, let me look over at the camera here, see if you can see it. I don't know if you can see, there's a little disc in it, a little metal disc. Let me do it down into that corner. Can you guys see there's a little metal disc in there? And I'm going to squeeze that metal disc, and it's going to cause an exothermic reaction in the crystals inside this. See that thing growing? It's this crystalline thing. It's starting to get hard, and it's starting to get very hot. It goes to 130 degrees in a matter of seconds. So this entire heat back is now got this. It's not hard, but it's a pretty hard gel, and it's super, super warm. It's really, really cool. Oh, yeah. Wait, the kids love playing. Did I bring it with me, Lindsay? Oh, that's right. We did it a bunch of times. Anyway, it's really cool. They sell so this is just sort of like a hand pack you could put in your pocket or something like that. The crazy thing is, after you use it, you boil it, and the salt that's in there goes back out of solution, or goes back into solution, I should say, and it becomes a full liquid again. So the salt is still in there, but it's not, wait, you thought I already talked about this? Did I play that last week? Everybody's saying they've heard this.
Well, let me go check.
I don't show it last week. It's not on 935. It's not on 934. It's not on 933.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
How can 4 people have said they remember it?
Maybe you didn't put it in the title.
Not officially.
Oh, they saw the article.
Yeah, did you guys read it?
Yeah, it's been posted for a while. It just hasn't gone in as part of the podcast. I think I posted it Monday earlier this week.
Yeah, so I couldn't have put it in the show, right?
Right, because let me just check the.
Okay, Sandy says she didn't. That's nerve wracking. Well, anyway, I'm going to assume I just looked through all the posts. If anybody find it, I messaged you about it.
Okay, I posted it on April 10th, and the last NosillaCast was April 9th.
Yeah,
so I don't think it could be there. People
I mean,
must
you
have...
did have all those recordings you'd given them to me ahead of time, like I have the next three, or the next two, but that's weird. Okay, you commented at the time, added some info in the chat because I've had one for a number of years. When are you saying I commented it? No, it wasn't a chit chat. Michael King's here. Hi, Michael.
He's at Boca
There was
Chica.
the stick in the reader for the medicine bottles, right? Must have mentioned it.
Maybe you mentioned him.
Yeah, there was the
just during
navigation
the live
aid,
show.
right? Oko. Yeah, maybe I played with it. Yeah, you post on the 10th. Yeah, it's not possible. It's not possible. Okay. If anybody finds it, let me know before the show's up, and I'll scramble for something else to do.
All right.
All right.
So, by the way, Michael is at Boca Chica for, I assume, the launch of the SpaceX
Starship?
The Super Heavy and Starship. Super Heavy booster and Starship. Tomorrow morning at, I think, 7 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Pacific.
5 a.m.? You getting up for it, Steve?
You bet.
Are you?
Unless it gets canceled tonight before I go to bed, but I'm getting up for it. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest rocket launch since the Saturn V. I mean, this is the biggest rocket in the world that has ever been launched. It will be.
Really?
Now, it is the first launch, so there's a good chance it won't come off. It'll get delayed or scrubbed, or it might blow up, or it might not achieve orbit. But this is a big one. It's a doozy.
John, you were saying maybe it was one of your interviews from the show. This is that interview from the show.
Yeah, there were several interviews from CSUN, and this was one of them, but towards the end.
Yeah. Okay. Let me wing something here. All right, next up, we have Sandy Foster, and I want you to listen to how pristine and perfect her audio is because of Hush. But actually listen to what she's talking about. That's more important. All right, and now where's Sandy? Sandy. Where's your clean audio? There it is. I didn't play this for you, Sandy. I should have sent it to you. No honking. Actually, Sandy, you remember the great honking episode where Sandy had this weird honk? She wants me to go back and see if it'll take the honk out. If I can find that, I will.
Is this, I don't see this as a post. Is this just a stick-in?
I just published it. Like 30, remember I told you, oh shoot, I forgot to publish this before. Is it not there? Okay.
Well, let me look.
Yeah, it's published. Keep your phone secure in your hand with Anchor magnetic blah blah blah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about something Sandy had recorded and sent to you.
She sent me a review, and that's the blog post of her review.
And she used that app Hush, but it's not. I used
it. She sent it to me, and it was a good recording, but it had some room noise, but I used Hush to make it even better.
Got it.
Okay, note to self, find Sandy honk. If that works, man, I'm playing it. Because that's a chance we get to hear the honk again. If anybody here wasn't listening back then, it was the weirdest. Like nobody I've played it for can identify where this honk came from. That it's a weird audio artifact, and it's just weird. All right, here we go. Hush, but actually listen to what she's talking about. That's more important.
Hi, this is Sandy Foster with a short review. We all like to take photos with our iPhones, but I have on occasion been a bit nervous about leaning out somewhere to take a photo, maybe on a ship or somewhere like that. The most readily available method of holding onto a phone is a pop socket. I've never been a fan of pop sockets, though, since they're more or less permanent or, if removed, not reusable. Even worse, they mess up Qi or MagSafe charging. However, I've found a solution and couldn't be more pleased. It's called the Anker Magnetic Phone Grip, and it comes in several colors. I chose a very pretty lilac. The cool thing about it is that it's, as its name says, magnetic, gripping the MagSafe ring quite firmly while still being easy to remove for charging or when it simply isn't needed. The ring through which your finger goes also works as a handy prop when needed for video or similar. The description on the Anker site says that the magnetic phone grip is for iPhone models 12 and 13, but I can't see why it wouldn't also work on the 14. The price is very reasonable, too, at around $16, though there's currently a 15% discount code available directly on the product page. A 15%.
Doesn't that sound fabulous?
It
All right,
does. By the way, I've been in that situation, hanging out over a ship, several stories up, trying to get that nice picture along the side of the ship.
Specifically, in fact, we have a great photo blown up hanging in our hallway of our stairwell of the side of the ship at sunrise. And it's a great photo, but all I can think about is your phone hanging out there. Yeah, you might need one of these too, Steve.
And I've had dreams that I've dropped that several times.
So I've had the same dream. All right, let me say one thing at the end here.
% discount code available directly on the product page.
Well, after Sandy made this recording for the show, she learned that PopSocket does now have a MagSafe version, but the Anker magnetic phone grip is quite a bit different from a PopSocket. It has this lilac flat ring. You could get in other colors, but why would you? Anyway, this lilac flat ring connects to the magnets on the phone, and then instead of a little pop-out thingy of a PopSocket, there's a steel ring that flips out from the center of that lilac ring. This means your finger is 100% captive to the phone grip, and it would be incredibly difficult to drop it. I think this looks terrific, and I asked for it for my birthday, of course, in lilac. For $16, it sure looks like a useful accessory to me. There we go. All right. So here's the funny part of the story. I sent Lindsay the link to this, and she said, yeah, I saw Sandy post that in Slack, and I thought it looked really cool. And I said, well, I want it for my birthday. And she goes, well, I want one too. But I wasn't sure, and I told her to open it when she gets it, if she gets it for me, and play with it and see if she likes it before she gives it to me, if she was to get that for me for my birthday. All right.
And that's not the item you were referring to?
What's not the item?
Earlier, you were talking about something you added to the list for Lindsay.
I didn't add it to the list. Oh, yeah. I did. Actually, I did. You're right. I did put it in there. It says told Lindsay.
I thought I saw it, yeah.
Oh, okay. But you didn't know it was from Sandy, did you?
No.
If you get one, you have to have it in lilac.
No.
Yeah, Aaliyah, I think it would be really good. The only thing I would worry about is if you wanted to use it to keep someone from stealing the phone from you. You know, I know a lot of people use a PopSocket so they can play with their phone when they're on a subway or whatever. It would break your finger. I mean, it would do serious damage if somebody actually pulled on it. So not for that use, I wouldn't think.
Wouldn't the magnetic connection just break free?
Probably would now that you mention it.
I don't think I'd break your finger.
Yeah, before it broke your finger. Yeah, that's probably true. Actually, I think I can fix one little bit of audio for Sandy that I bet she would want. One little tiny thing here.
A 15% discount code.
Yeah, I'm going to just slice that out for her so it sounds a little bit cleaner.
15% discount code available directly on the product page.
There. All right. You see why I cut so much out of the show? We are at 21 minutes. We haven't started a 50-minute security bits yet. All right. Well, I hope you're enjoying all of the content created this week. You've got a Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, a Programming by Stealth, and the NosillaCast. All of this is brought to you by our fine patrons of the Podfeed podcast. Whether they donate via Patreon or make a one-time donation using PayPal, they all make this happen. If you'd like to help make these shows happen yourself and help pay for things like Hush, even though it was totally Terry's fault, I still spent $50, If you want to help make these shows happen and could spare $1 or $2, please go to podfeet.com and push one of the big buttons near the bottom to find out the best way for you to support the show. Alrighty. Security bits. Security bits showing. So have you been showing anything interesting, Steve? Any interesting views? Or are you using the original views?
No, these are the original views. I mean, I've got this view, but it just compresses it's not as useful. Still kind of limited.
Oh no, look what Kevin wrote. Apparently it's rude to poke someone in the forehead and say skip intro when they start talking. Where'd you get that, Kevin? That's hilarious. All right, let's go get some security bits from Allison. And there we go. And I'm going to get rid of Bart on that track. And have I ever talked on the NosillaCast about how we do the show notes for Programming by Stealth? And I'm doubting everything I do that I've done it before. All right, you want to hear a plink?
Sure. Yep.
Blink. Blink. Blink.
Don't overdo the plink.
Okay. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchotz. How dismal are things this week, Bart?
They're grand.
Okay. I think that's going to be good. We will double check that. I don't know why it does that. That doesn't seem like it should happen. And I'll put you maybe right
So
there.
Aaliyah's asking, what was that sound? She may not know about plink.
Ooh, and I didn't do a chapter mark. So a long time ago, Bart does a recording and I do a recording when we do our security bits or chit chat across the pond or whatever we're recording. So there's 2 copies of it being made. He makes a stereo copy and I make a stereo copy, and they both have 2 tracks, one for me and one for him. And but I need to know when he has hit record on his side. So one day he just said blink when he did it. And there began a long running joke of me getting other people to say plink. So let's see.
And is that to sync up the audio?
No, it's just for me to know that he has hit the button.
Oh.
He says plink. So if I, let's see, let's listen to a couple of others. Doesn't that play? I thought that would play. No? I got to drop them in here. Shoot. Okay, make sure I remember to unmute that track. I'll put one in here. Okay, here we go.
Blinky blink.
So sometimes he gets creative.
Blinky blink.
And then I like, this is a fan favorite right here.
Plinky blinky McBlink blink.
No.
Plinky blinky McBlink blink.
Let's see. Tom Merritt didn't want to say plank, but I made him.
Blank.
That's a passive aggressive plink.
Right? Let's see. Steve said plank for us once. Why did you say plank?
I don't remember this.
Blink.
Wow.
Blink. You keep talking over it. Blink. Blink.
That's pretty high.
You forgot how fun this was, being here. Here's John Siracusa doing one.
Plank.
Simple.
It's got his twang too.
Yep. Let's see. Melissa Davis.
Blink,
Oh.
blink.
I like that one. There is my favorite is coming up. Jill.
I think I know who the favorite is.
Here's Jill. Jill does a bunch of them.
Plink. I'm not as cute as Bart is. Plink.
This was, who did this? I think this is Bart.
I shall plinky the plink plinks.
Okay. But here's the best one.
The best. Here we go.
This is the best one. Get ready.
Blinky blink.
That's my grandson Forbes when how old is he, Lindsay?
He was probably 3.
I don't know, Jill.
4.
Blinky blink.
Is he listening, Lindsay?
Blinky blink. Blinky blink.
Okay, we got to get Sienna to do one. He's sadly in the Minecraft world. All right, I think that's. Oh no, I've got more. I've got Paul Kafasis, Dan Moore, and Dave Hamilton, and Casey Liss.
Do
Should I
Dave.
just finish him off?
Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Who is this? This is Paul Kafasis.
Plink. Plink.
He's forceful about it. Dan Morin.
Plink.
Not much to that one. Dave Hamilton.
Plank.
That's a good one.
Plank.
Sounds like a maniac. I forgot how good that one was. And Casey Liss is the last one.
Palink.
Ooh, double.
He got
It's
it
a
done.
2-syllable plink.
Palink.
It's like
Anyway.
It's like saying police.
Please. Anyway, that is what Plink was. Are you glad you asked, Aaliyah?
Yeah.
Dave is a cartoon character. That's a good response. All right, let me check these transitions here. Support the show. Whoops, sorry. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Busschots. How dismal are things this week, Bart?
They're grand, actually. There's not that much news, so I actually did 2 sort of deep divey security medium-y sort of stories instead, really.
Good.
Which is fine. And I was thinking actually, so last time we talked about, why are there less stories than there used to be? And I think it's because most of our security is automatic now. We spent all of our time in the past telling people to manually go do things. Whereas now, if you take a computer and do everything by default and turn your back, it's updated. So why did the blogs have to keep telling you update your Firefox? I mean, how often was it update Firefox? That just happened.
Oh, right. You open it and it's just always done its update.
Exactly. And the operating system's default to yes, I'll update automatically. So I think actually the answer is because security has been automated for muggles. And that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's still, if you're using an old device, throw it in the bin. Maybe you still get to say that one because it's not getting all these auto updates.
That is true. Yeah, so I guess it's aging out. The problem is aging out. But I think that's honestly the reason there's so much less mundane stuff in the feed every week, because we're getting better at just having it happen automatically. So I think that's why we're left with fewer meaty stories, which I prefer. It's much more fun having these kind of shows.
Yeah. You mean fewer non-meaty stories?
Exactly.
Oh, fewer
so
meaty
I get
stories,
to,
right? Just a couple.
So I get to,
dig our
so I
teeth
get
in.
to have small, less.
Actually, I'm going to cut that out.
It's much more fun having these kind of shows.
Okay, so I think split that. Now I talked over him and what I said made no sense. I think I want to get rid of that. Split that and take that out. But
so I get to, so I get to have.
See how that sounds.
Which I prefer. It's much more fun having these kind of shows. Yeah, so I get to have small, less nice things per episode instead of having my show notes full of little fiddly bits.
Yeah.
So, our first deep dive is, I should probably call this one a medium, to be honest. It was a story that could have gone as a bullet point in a story, but I scratched the surface of it and decided I wanted to go a little deeper. So,
okay. Alrighty here.
stay patched so they stay secure.
And it's time to wind us up for this week. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me anytime you like at allison@podfeed.com, and I will probably answer you. If you have a question or a suggestion, just send it on over. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed, at chaos.social. And remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. If you want to join in the conversation, I highly recommend joining our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely Nosilla castaways. Even Bart is known to dip in and out with conversations here and there. You can support the show and help pay for Hush if you go to podfeed.com/Patreon or do a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show like Michael King did for the first time in forever being gone, you can go to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Anybody notice I ran out of air there? You can go to. You can support the show and help pay for Hush. And if you want to join in, I'm going to re-record that. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show like Michael King did after having been gone for a long time, simply head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening. Oh, come on. Can't even say thanks for listening correctly tonight. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right. Well, let's see how that ended. NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and make sure that /PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the, there we go. That's much better.
Much better.
I'm not going to end it with a plink. I do have to make sure. Adam and I are teeing up another conversation. We're going to talk about clean installs. And stay subscribed. All righty, everybody.
Chapter count.
Oh, chapter count. Okay. All
I
right,
got
fine.
7.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right. We're good there.
All right. And no, you were supposed to remind me to make sure I unmuted that.
Oh, yeah. Unmute that track, for goodness sakes.
For goodness sakes. Let's see. Everything looks pretty good here. Yep. All right. We are good.
You did unmute it. I can't see.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this little M down there would be red if it was muted. See, watch.
Okay.
Now it's muted. No. Okay. Now it's unmuted. Cast hosted. There's music. All right. Export song to disk. And we are done with that. All righty. Well, I had fun tonight.
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't already talk about Wonder Packs. Will be funny if I did.
Well, fine. I
We
just
can't-
don't see. I still think you may have talked about them during the live show, but not done the blog post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
In fact, did you bring one of the big ones possibly?
Oh yeah, I did open up the big ones when we were here.
Yeah.
The
But you
neck
didn't
things.
do. I don't think you did an actual.
Didn't do the review.
Did you
I don't think.
Oh, did you review them? But that would have shown up in the titles.
Yeah, would have to be there, and I would. That would have been I did it before you posted it, and I'm always behind you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I played with it here. All right. Well, it looks like the NosillaCastaways are leaving, whether we say goodbye or not. So I think we should say goodbye.
I think we should.
Everyone have a good time. Hey, Rose wasn't here.
Oh, she sent me a note that she was detained and she could not make it.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
All right. Well, in case she comes back and watches the video, bye, Rose. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Hanging up.